Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Off the Block, the off-season show where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. Right off the top, you might notice something, that one of these things is not like the other. That we are rocking, and I mean rocking, the Big Brother Hometowns official T-shirt. We all just got ours in the mail. Actually, I've had one for a little while, but this is Jenny's. Actually, she just got hers in the mail. I just put it on. You could have one too. You could have an official Big Brother Hometowns T-shirt for like little to no cost, and it's like 20 some odd bucks. But here's how you can get it. I'll tell you that much. Well, let me tell you two things. One, this is like a super comfortable shirt. Like, honestly, like, it's not even just trying to like get your money. It literally is like the softest shirt I've ever worn. And two, now I want your money. So you can DM me or Jeff Delaney, or really, I guess any of us will get you to the right place. But mainly me or Jeff will hook you up with ordering a T-shirt. There's several that out there in the BBH community that are also rocking it, not just us here at the top. Yeah, so one could be yours if the price is right. And we'd love for you to have it and rock it. We have a big audience tonight, which is exciting. We hope you stick around. I am joined by two of our three usual, as if we've done this a million times, but to my right, I guess, there's Mitchell, and to my below me is Gray. You're familiar with them. And then you are probably familiar with this person as well. This is the winner of Big Brother Hometown Season 1 and the robbed G. Otis of Season 10, Jenny Gillespie Consalvo. How are you tonight, Jenny?
I'm good.
Tonight, Gray, Mitchell, how are you guys? I'll let you guys talk.
Oh, thanks, Josh, for asking. I'm doing great today.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go. I was doing great until someone tried to come for me in the comments. I'm watching.
But you know what? They're too afraid. Oh, who is it?
They're too afraid to say their name.
It is a BBH 11 applicant. That's all I gotta say. I'm watching.
Go to
I know who you are.
Compromising their future spot in the game for some shades. I like it.
They need to follow this link so that they can.
Yeah. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. We can see your names. Especially if you want to play in the future. That will be to my below me. That had to be like Jason or something roasting.
No, it's 100% Jayla.
Oh. Tonight on the agenda. One more housekeeping thing before. What? Oh, yeah. I saw that a long time ago. One more thing on the housekeeping. I want to start teasing something. The next episode of Off the Block, so the 6 of you that are watching right now live, the next episode of Off the Block, we don't have it actually scheduled yet. It might be this time next week. We're 2 weeks in a row. But this next episode, not this one, but the one we do next, is going to be the most we have a big announcement, a humongous announcement. And it is something that has been in the works for BBH for literal months and months and months. And I am very excited about it. And it is almost ready to go. If you're someone that might know what that is, hold the secret in. But it's going to be something that I think everyone that has played or might play in the future is going to be really excited about. So that is the tease for the next one. You do not want to miss it at all. 1. 2, tomorrow is the very last day that you can apply to play Big Brother Hometown Season 11. We've already begun our interview process, and they have been going very well. We're very excited about the people that have applied, and I kid you not, this is a record number of applicants, not blowing smoke still. But we still have some time. So if you want to get in there, if you want a shot to play next season for a newbie season, no returning players. Ideally, we've not been able to do that in a long time. We're really excited about the opportunity to do that this season. You returners that are itching to get back in the house, I promise you will have your opportunity. Don't you worry. But it will be for a little while. So if tomorrow, last day to apply for BBH 11. We'll be joined by a lot of your BBH friends on the prod team, and it's going to be a good time. Now, for the main event.
Hey, Jason.
The main event of the night. Tonight we're going to be...
Eric made it. Good job, Eric.
Yeah, good job, Eric. You never use StreamYard. Well, maybe you might have to. We'll have to see. Truly, we'll have to see. We tonight the main event is we're going to be discussing and talking about. We're going to be going through the history books. Talking through last week, we talked about, if you missed it, we talked about the top 10 players to never win, and then this week we're going to just kind of dive through the history and talk about some moves that have been made. What was the exact title that you made, Mitchell?
Flip or flop.
Flip or flop. So we're going to talk about specific moves that were made in each season, or most of the seasons, that we can provide context for. Of course, I was around for all of them, but like they all weren't. And we're going to talk about
some would even say the biggest move.
The biggest moves. And we're going to talk about whether those moves were flips, whether they flipped the house and caused chaos and were objectively like good moves, bad moves, we can talk about that, or if they were flops. They might have been big moves, but that doesn't make them good moves. So I guess
who they flipped for, like who was it good for, who was it bad for?
Yeah, and a lot of times the moves that are bad are bad for the people that made them and good for people that didn't make them. So it'll be interesting to talk through all of those things. We are joined by Jenny as our guest, so she has some context on some of the moves that were made in some seasons that you may not be familiar with, mainly season 1.
The Lost, but like I have a lot to say about season 1. I have a lot to say.
Mitchell has. I've been able to give him a lot of context on what happened, and we've talked a lot about it. And he is an official BBH historian at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, so let's talk about. We're just gonna kind of go chronologically. Start with Big Brother Hometowns season number 1, where it all began. 12 people that were basically all in my general vicinity, like geographically, in the Big Brother Hometowns house. And Jenny eventually won. So the game was very fluid early on, I would say. A lot of things moving back and forth. But there was a group, an alliance, if you will, that Jenny was a part of, called the Monkeys in the Middle. The Monkeys in the Middle were 2 BBH legends, 2 you may not be as familiar with, Jenny and Bradley, and then a guy named Tucker and a guy named Chris. They were the Monkeys in the Middle. And they were ready to make their big move. And their big move came at the helm of Tucker's HOH, and they were like, it is time to take out Ashton. Ashton is my sister. It's the only time she's ever played. And it was a humongous move, and there was a lot of repercussions, and there's a lot that went down in that move. Jenny, talk us through what you remember.
That Ashton was really angry. I mean, honestly, game-wise, I have 0 regrets voting Ashton out of the game. Relationship-wise, it was terrible. She was salty until the end that it happened. And so I still think it was the move that needed to happen, although I think it did end up getting Chris, Tucker, and Bradley probably all voted out of the game, but
in succession.
But I needed
literally
to win anyway. So for me, it was not a flop. For everybody else, probably was a flop.
So I have gone and like dug in and tried to like figure out what's gone on and in that season. And the first thing I want to say is that vote, if Jeff Probst was watching, he would have gotten the biggest Survivor boner of all time. Because, like, y'all know how much he loved the whole, like, oh, Sierra voted out her mom. Well, listen.
Sierra's vote did not count towards her voting out her mom. It drives me crazy.
Right, exactly.
It's not hyped up to be what he makes it be. It's like, absolutely.
But this is amazing because Jenny and Bradley both flip on their like family member to vote her out, like intentionally, and not because somebody wanted them to or because they told them to. They said, this is the time, we got to do this, we have to break up Ashton's group that was on the like opposing force to them. And they said, "All right, bye, girl." They were like, "Get out,"
I still remember eating dinner with Josh's parents that night at Zoe's kitchen,
Yeah, we
and
met him in
then talking
Greenville.
to Bradley on the phone, walking around Trader Joe's, just like pacing, trying to decide if we were going to do it or not. And we did.
Yeah, that vote came down to emotion almost took over. Now, I guess the question is like, what other than for Jenny? That was the only, and you could even argue that didn't benefit Jenny directly. Who is that move good for? Like, so to give the hindsight afterwards, Chris, Bradley, and Tucker, the three people of the four that were like, we need to make this move because it protects us, went home back to back right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Ashton staying in the game would have changed that, because if it would have not been Ashton, it would have been Lane, or it would have been Allie, or it would have been whoever. And none of those people were working with us. And so those people were in trouble regardless of who stayed in the game. But Ashton was the only one holding them together. So everyone's best chance was that they fall apart after Ashton's there.
Yeah, and they couldn't anticipate that they A, wouldn't fall apart, and B, that they would win like the next three HOHs to take them out. So,
and was it the next three votes that they all went home?
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I
don't know.
I'm trying to remember who was HOH following.
I have the wiki pulled up.
Okay.
I mean, I have the voting chart pulled up.
Tucker went home, like 7th?
It was Chris and then Tucker and then Bradley.
So Tucker was 6th then, I think.
Chris, it was after Ashton went, it was Chris on Tucker's. No, sorry. It was Chris on Lane's HOH.
Mm-hmm.
It was, then
Tucker.
After that, it was Tucker
on Bradley's HOH.
Bradley's HOH. And then after that, it was
Bradley on Daniel's HOH.
Yes.
Why did Tucker go home on Bradley's?
I don't know. That's a great question. Bradley and Lane were trying to like keep things together as best as they could, but so Bradley kind of convinced Lane to take Tucker out, even though it was his HOH, and Lane almost didn't do it, but then Lane did do it. I think that was not a great move for Bradley to take Tucker out there, because I mean, yeah, Tucker was maybe mounting a case and maybe was gaining some momentum, but like Lane was the threat of the season.
Well, here's the thing. Bradley was not taking me to the end. Chris was not taking any of us to the end. I wasn't going to take any of them to the end. Maybe Tucker. But I needed him on the jury because I needed his jury vote because I knew it was a for sure vote. So there was a lot of risk, but really only reward depending on how the cards fell. And they just happened to fall in my favor and not theirs, because none of us, even though we were in alliance together, we're going to go to the final two with each other.
Well, what made you not the threat to take out?
Because I had better relationships with Daniel and Allie to keep myself in the game, because I gave Allie information that she needed to protect her game and to get her to the end. And Daniel and I had been chatting it up on the side the whole time.
I mean, that's true. To give more context about like some of the bitterness in that season, Ashton, who was voted out and is literally my sister and by proxy Jenny's sister-in-law, didn't vote for Jenny on the jury. Like, she voted for Allie, this person that she really didn't know at all. Like, Allie was connected to like us and that like friend group, but like she was not really like in like with a lot of them until that game, and especially not Ashton.
Married to your best friend, so I guess that's okay.
What's that?
I said she's married to your best friend now, so that works.
Well, yeah, that's fine, but I still cannot believe Ashton didn't vote for Jenny. And she said in the moment that it was like, I just voted for Allie so she would get a vote, and I knew that Jenny was going to win. If I didn't think Jenny was going to win, yada yada. I don't buy it. I still don't buy it. She was bitter. You can hear it in the tone. I have that jury vote video like deep in the archives somewhere out there. Maybe I should find it. Let's. Is that okay? We like super.
Yeah, why not? Last time we went for like an hour and a half. So
I'm gonna move.
Listen,
Yeah,
I gotta go to bed early, so I'm not trying to stay up for 11 o'clock.
No, this will be a shorter
It's okay.
stream.
I have the video. Let's see if I can.
Oh my gosh.
Roll the clip.
Ridiculous.
While you have it, or you need me to?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is my message to the universe, directed towards Ashton Consalvo. We need you to come play this game again. You have some unfinished business, and we need you.
I think if Ashton would have made it to the end, she would have won the game.
I think so too.
Also, I just love to see the Consalvi like in these games. Consalvi is plural for Consalvos. More than one Consalvo. Like, I would just love to have like Ashton like back in this community, like as a like big key player, because like when we play events like the Sequester game or Jason's like Survivor Mini, and like Josh and Bradley both play, like I just think about like the family feud of like having like all three.
What if all in one of those games, me, Josh, Bradley, and Ashton all play?
Oh, I would live for it. I would live for it.
Yeah, you would. Gray's here for the drama. But what we should organize is a game where each four of you is like a team captain of something. Oh, that would be really fun.
Tell me if you guys can hear the audio when I share the screen.
Jason is being messy in the chat. We see you, Jason. Stop being messy.
There's more Consalvos.
Tell me if you can hear this. Can you?
No.
I don't know why it does that. Like, whatever reason on Chrome on Mac, like you can't share the audio on when you share your screen, but you could on literally every other thing. I'm determined to make it happen, but it's okay.
Just unplug the headphones first.
Hold on, I have one last ditch idea, and if it's not the end of the world that we get this, but I just sent it in our chat, and if one of you guys, like Mitchell, if you want to share your screen, and
I can try it.
And
I'm also on Chrome though, so I don't know if it will.
Hit the share screen button. If there should be a little button at the bottom that says share screen audio. Just see if that pops up.
Everyone watching right now is like the production quality.
Yeah.
They're living for us being behind. Okay, hold on.
I just don't know why. I'm gonna have to take this up with StreamYard because this is.
Take it up. Maybe they'll give us a discount if it doesn't work.
Sure, StreamYard. StreamYard's reasonable.
I don't know if it'll work because of the it's going through my headphones.
If there's a little button that says share screen audio, then you're good.
Okay, I'll try it. Here we go. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, let's hope it works.
No.
No.
Oh well.
Yeah. She said, "You ready for this reenactment?"
Yeah, reenact it for us.
Okay, here we go. Ready? I'm gonna my words, her mouth. Okay. I am voting for the person who's loyal to me this game, and that would be Allie. There you go.
Iconic. I'm gonna get this sorted out for future episodes so we can get some good clips in because I think that's important. All right. Anything else to add about season 1? We got 10 seasons to get through.
Nope.
And thank you, Jayla, for loving our behind the scenes moment.
We love BTS.
This is the real Jayla. You can buy a Big Brother Hometowns t-shirt. Just hit up Jeff Delaney or me. We'll get you a BBH t-shirt. I mean, you have to pay for it, but all right. Season 2. Season 2. All right, great. Why don't you set this one up for us?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite moves in all of Big Brother Hometowns history. Matt Holloman texted me like 3 hours ago and was like, "You better talk about this on the stream tonight." And I was like, "Oh, you know that we're talking about this on the stream tonight." So at this point in the game, it's the first double eviction in Big Brother Hometowns 2. And myself, Emma, Caroline Harden, Matt, and Justin are part of an alliance called the Thai Lions. And we bring Sarah
It had like
O'Neill
3 different names for the record. It was once called Six on the Beach. It was once called the Six Snakes. It was once called the Thai Alliance. It had a million names.
We ended up calling ourselves, by the end of it, was like 5 snakes. And we made it to we all made it to the top 8. I was like the first casualty. And so things kept going wrong for us. Like we won the first 2 HOHs of the game, but then we didn't win another one for the rest of the game. But Connor had like a group that he was strong with him and Trey Robb and Trey Smith and Abby, and they kept winning HOH, but they couldn't get us out. And so this was one of those key moments. It was like the last like hoorah. Connor put up Sarah O'Neill, Matt, and Justin on the block with the intention of targeting Matt and Justin, who were like 2 of our allies. And we were like, there is no way we're making it through this. Like our alliance is going to take a hit. But Justin won the power of veto. And was it Justin that won?
Yep.
He won the power of veto, pulled himself off. And so instead of Connor putting up another person, I talked to Connor and was like, Connor, we can get out Matt and Sarah, Sarah's also part of that alliance, and we need to get her out. And so put up a pawn, Ryan Marsden, so that we can
right pawn.
They do what?
I said right pawn.
Where's Jayla right now?
Sorry.
So we were like, put up a pawn, Ryan Marsden, and let's all vote to save Ryan so we can get out Sarah and Matt. Meanwhile, me, Justin, Emma, and Caroline had 4 of the 7 votes needed to make a majority in this round. And so I tell Connor, he's like, you're going to flip on me. I know you're going to flip on me. So I was like, let me send you my video. So I sent him a video of me voting to save Marston in my diary room, like a video, like screenshot recording. But then I immediately go back after I recorded it and said, Josh, I want to actually submit a different video to save Matt. And so the vote ends up being 4-3. And we saved Matt. And so Connor, at the beginning of his HOH, wanted Matt and Justin to both go home. By the end of his HOH, Matt and Justin were both still there, and Sarah and Ryan were gone, who eventually were on the outskirts of our alliance, so they would have turned on us anyway, I bet. And so, yeah, like we convinced Connor at the beginning of his HOH. You can watch the clips. Like he is so excited about this HOH and about taking a shot. And at the end, he's like, as a viewer, like I just have to laugh at myself in this moment. And it's iconic. And I don't know if y'all, Mitchell, you just recently watched that season. Josh, you were watching it all along. I don't know if y'all have anything that you want to add there.
Yeah, so much. I remember I was doing something else. I'm trying to keep a lot of cards to the chest at the moment. When Connor made that move, and I remember telling someone that I was talking to, we were talking about it, and I was like, someone's about to ruin their game. Granted, Connor goes on to win, spoiler alert. So flip or flop, still flop, but
it also kind of flopped for me because it was probably too early to be making a move like that. And when we got to final 8, I get put on the block for the first time, and I end up getting voted out in a 3-2 vote because Justin flips and votes me out because he knows at the end that if we do make it to the end together, then like I have that on my resume.
Yeah, at the end, Justin did turn around and align with Trey and Connor and Matt to form a new 4 after Caroline kind of blew up her own game and kind of just didn't play very wisely. And like, but in terms of like that isolated move, Connor just blew it. Like he really did. Like, and he knew it then. Right when it ended, he knew it. Like, I just don't know why he thought that. What I've learned, and I've seen it time and time again, well, I'll probably touch on it later in another move that was made, is if you want to get your target out, you better make sure that person next to them, either 1 is not going home, or 2 is someone that if they go home, it creates just as much of a wave as the person you're targeting, because if not, you're just gonna you're enabling power. So future players, go for it. When you have 2 people put on the block, put up 2 people that are in that alliance. You know what I mean? Like, do not. Yeah. That's what I think I've learned in watching this. If you put up someone that as a pawn, the pawns go home thing is real, but only if you put up like not smart pawns, and that is exactly what Connor did there. It was like, we can get out. Go ahead.
To Connor's defense, Connor knew that all of us were connected in some way outside of the game. But I don't think he knew specifically, like watching back and watching his like read of it, I don't think that he specifically knew which of us were closer in that circle and which of us weren't. And so whenever like it was easy to say like, hey, Sarah is like really, really like tight with that group. Like I'm inside the group, so like I can tell you this, and like I'm ready to make a big move and flip on my alliance. So like you should do this, and it's gonna make waves. And like we'll all vote out Matt and Sarah, and like they won't know what to do. But you have to like stick with me after this. And then like completely pull the plug and like go the other direction. Like I think in his mind he saw that he was still gonna be taking out 2 people, but what he should have done is thrown me up on the block too, or thrown Emma
or Caroline.
He had so many options, and I think he, in that moment, it felt like he got greedy in wanting to try and better his position.
Yeah,
and because he could feel for himself that HOH was so important, and then he won it, and then he was trying to do something to better his position, and I think he was trying to better his position with just too many people, and then it ended up biting him in the butt. Honestly, I believe the battle back was right after that.
And that's what saved him.
Honestly, that saved his game, and it really screwed your game, Gray. It
was the worst thing to happen to my game. If it had been like we do now, where there is no more battle back, then I think that it could have been a very different season because y'all would have had the core power structure moving forward from there. So I think like in a vacuum, like that move is objectively not good for Connor, but I understand why he was trying to make that move. Because he needed people going forward. He didn't really have very many people left after that.
But he even knew that he had Abby and both Trey, and probably could have, in some regards had Sarah, in some regards had Marston, and he could have he tried to do too much, tried to get too cute, and it blew up in his face. He knew it right away. He recovered and won the season, obviously. So like when we were talking about this earlier, like if you win the season, like did you make any bad moves?
Yeah.
I think that's what's interesting. And so far, like with this move and with the season 1 move that we talked about, and some of the moves we're going to talk about later, like it involved the people who ended up winning the season. And so you can have a blunder and you can still move forward and you can still recover. And I think that's an important trait in being, good at this game. So.
Yeah. And that really was the big turning point, because I would say that moment, and then like, there was that coupled with just Connor's game in general. There's a lot to dissect and a lot to talk about, but I want to save a lot of that for the future, because I think that'd be fun to have Connor on here to walk through his game at some point. That'd just be fun, because his game is intriguing to me, and
it's really fun.
And we are really, I think, between us 3 and Max, are really trying to parse through the history of this game, and rank the winners, rank the seasons, see where do things actually place in history, and because it's very easy to be revisionist, and it's easy to be revisionist, and it's easy to have a recency bias.
Yeah.
So I think just like kind of stepping back,
or a player bias.
Right. Of course.
I played that season, so obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mitchell is convinced that Sarah's the best winner. Season 6 is the best season in the history of the Big Brother franchise. So,
all, including all of the celeb versions, all of the UK versions, like
every other online reality game, every single one. BBH6.
No,
we'll
season
get to, we'll
1
get,
would have been really good television.
Yes, agreed. But we will get to season 6 in
we'll get there. All right.
I don't remember that season. Must have not been that great.
I heard there was a season 6 alliance though.
Let's move on. Let's move on to season 3.
I wish
is not here to tell
He's
us
absent.
his
Max betrays Quinn. That is the. Where is Max? I thought he was coming. Like I thought he was going to be here.
He's busy. He's a busy boy.
Trying to better himself with a good education.
We stand.
Can't relate.
Yeah, why would you ever get a music degree?
Hey now.
It worked out for Mitchell.
Hey yo, look, see, she's here.
Sarah!
And this is why she's the best. Anywho.
Wait, why? Because she commented season 6.
Yeah, because she's here talking about season 6. Anywho, moving on.
Max betrays Quinn. That is, I mean, that's the headline of Big Brother Hometowns 3, right? Like whenever we talk about season 3 in any capacity, it's like, oh, Max voted out Quinn. But there's some history.
There's so much more to that.
There's so much more to this because there's like this has been revised in some capacity where it's just as even by like Quinn and Max themselves. In a sense, maybe not as much Quinn, but it's just like, oh, Matt, maybe not even either of them. But people are just like, oh, Max betrayed Quinn. Max took out Quinn. I mean, he did do that, but not before a failed attempt to take out his brother. As someone who has taken out their brother, and by their brother I mean your sister, I don't have a leading question. I just know we talked about you doing it as well. But yeah, so Max tries to backdoor Quinn when John and no. Oh my gosh, there's so much to this. Okay, so John and Trey are on the block. Trey robbed. Trey got robbed. No, actually he didn't. John wins the power of veto and decides with his power of veto to not save himself. He decides, I'm going to use the veto on Trey.
This was one for the books. I have a few choice words that I could like throw in there too, but it's a family show. This truly, I still look back at this. I will like wake up in the middle of the night laughing, thinking about this. Winning the power of veto and not using it on yourself when you're on the block. A concept that I could just never.
I could never.
Well, I mean, the only time that I can think of this working for somebody is in actual Big Brother, like season 8, like Evil Dick and like Danny did this for each other, like at 2 points in that season. Like Dick was on the block with Danny and like pulled her off, and then but like that's their father and daughter. Like it's a little different. The votes were already there. You just don't do this.
I just think I think I'm gonna try and defend it just a little bit.
Please try. I want to hear it.
But I mean, John and Bradley have been friends since they were like 10 years old. And so I think and even in one of his confessionals earlier on in the season, he says, I will go home before Bradley goes home.
Yeah, but he didn't use literally on Trey, not on Bradley.
Yeah, but he didn't do it on himself.
Yeah,
and it risked Bradley going up in his place.
Exactly.
Wasn't Bradley gone already?
No, maybe not. Maybe no.
I think Bradley was gone already.
But when you play the game, are you playing it for yourself or are you playing it for your best friend?
Okay, but Quinn.
Some people are nicer than other people. I mean, I wouldn't do it for my family or friend, but
like nowadays,
okay, you're right. Bradley's gone.
Like
Bradley was gone.
Nowadays, I could justify a move like that because there's no cash prize at the end. But this was also a season where at the end you win $150 when you win.
Yeah,
it's true.
Not everyone needs $150 though.
That's
okay,
true.
well. He knows. The reason was game. The reason was not personal. He thought that he was trying to build with Trey, he thought that he was good, which he probably should have been because then. So this is just the beauty of this whole thing is incredible. Because Max decides, all right, Max was HOH. This is now this is my time to take my shot at my brother. So he puts Quinn on the block, shocks everybody. I think John may have been in on this a little bit. I think he knew that this might have been happening, which probably also helped because when you know that Quinn's going on the block, you're like, oh, he's definitely going home then.
Quinn, who had already been evicted and won the battle back. Yes. So, there's he could have been a prime suspect for a target.
Right. It definitely was. And then the one thing that was not taken into account was Trey, the voter. This is where the problem was for John. He did not take into account the fact that if he pulls himself off the block, he guarantees himself the vote that he wants to vote. Trey gets off the block, and Quinn comes right to Trey, who is the swing vote, and says everything, promises him the whole world. Here's an alliance. Here's why you need to take John. Here's this, here's that, here's that. This was the night of the Super Bowl. I remember that. I know that Trey was at a Super Bowl party when this happened. So there was probably a little bit of other influence on his mental state, a little more vulnerable, if you will. And Matt Quinn said all the right things at all the right times to Trey. Trey flipped his vote. John goes home. Quinn is still in the game. Max is still in the game now, having to deal with Quinn. But once again, we're talking about a move where it is a flop objectively because you tried to get Quinn out and you didn't, and then you still go on to win the season.
Yeah.
So really what this episode is how did a win potentially or a move potentially flop and the winner still win?
So far.
I mean, I think it's fascinating that you can have a blunder and that you can still recover. I said earlier, you can recover and you can move on, and it's part of what makes. I mean, that's what makes Connor and Jenny and Max great winners, is because they had a potentially like fumbling moment, and then.
Although I would say my fumble was not the.
Yeah.
My fumble was the Drew vote where he went home instead of Allie, but at the same time, that fueled the fire to win. So
all of them aren't like this though. So I know like when we get like a little bit further, we've got a few moves that did fumble for key players.
It cost you the game.
So
and I would say it's rare, but it's maybe not rare, but like sometimes you get lucky, and Connor maybe not, because he didn't get to necessarily right his wrong. The game changed after that.
Yeah,
the game completely changed. He didn't have but Max got other opportunities to right the wrong and get Quinn out, and he didn't miss the second time. Max was able, when you're kind of down the stretch, comp wins give you more power. And he was winning a whole lot. I mean, he had to essentially win his way to the end, or not even essentially. He had to win his way to the end from final 5 on after the double eviction. I think he won veto, HOH, veto, HOH, to win the season. And without that, he doesn't do it. And he was in the perfect situation too, where he had Abby, who was somehow seen as a bigger threat to win over Trey. That Trey had to take Max. Had to, or Abby was definitely going to win. Max at least had a little bit of the dislikability factor. If anything, this flop got him jury votes, or it got him to the final 2 rather, because Trey was like, oh, but Max did these things, made people upset, tried to betray his brother twice. People may not vote for him for that. And, it was those very things that got him to the end, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't even thought about that. Just had that light bulb moment.
All right, moving on.
All right, so Big Brother hometowns 5.
Wrong one.
80.
Who put that in there?
Not me.
I didn't do it.
Big Brother hometowns 4 did not have a lot of super big moments like this. It was just like, I did this, then you do this, then I do this, then you do this.
It was very reactionary. It was very reactionary the whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had to give one moment, it would be Leah winning the battle back to H in one swoop and being able to enact her revenge and put herself in a good position moving forward to get her to the final 3.
Yep.
That would be I think that would be the big flip or flop moment of BBH4.
Which in my opinion, I mean, yeah, I agree. That's the best I can come up with, because I've probably said this on here before, but I would define a big move in the game as something that shakes up the status quo, and the status quo was not. This didn't shake up the status quo. Leah won power, and so the status quo at that point is, all right, get out the people who just took her out, and she does.
Yeah, because it was literally just like a reaction And like she was out, like it was the same thing with Connor, like where he benefited from the game changing, and so did she, where she benefited from obviously coming back into the game, but then being like winning that HOH.
So that's that. Moving to season 5, I don't want to talk about this for too long. One, because Max isn't here to give better context. 2, Mitchell and Gray don't know it super well. And 3 is because I'm really learning, which is funny, that Big Brother Hometowns 5 is a great season. It's a great season. I did not think so. It has an incredible pre-jury.
It was our first All-Star season.
First All-Star season. And I was saying that I didn't think it was an All-Star season, but it really was. Like I did not give it the credit it deserves. Has a fantastic finale with 2 very deserving finalists who give great performances. Comes and put a pin in season 5. I'll briefly give the context of Greg's fake alliance. Greg is on the block at final 8 or 9, and whips up a fake alliance. He whips up an alliance together. This is actually 8, I think. Yeah, had to be. Whips up an alliance at 8. It still might have been 9 because it might have carried him over. It doesn't matter. And saves him from eviction. He was on the block. Puts this alliance together to save him. They save him. And this is a big flip move for Greg rather. This is a move that propels him to victory in that season. Objectively, because this is when Greg started playing in the season, which is very funny because in season 2 he was guns a-blazing, but he did not take that strategy in season 5, and it paid off for him because then he wins the double eviction HOH and turns on the exact people he just made an alliance with and kicks them all out and runs to the win. I'd say he got to the win, but there's a lot to talk about.
Greg is like the first person in my eyes who like in season 2 he was like a great villain. By him coming back into the game with the battle back, winning the battle back, and winning HOH, it just set the stage for him to be an amazing villain, and it didn't last long. But then when he came back in season 5 and pulling this move, it just showed like that he could win the game and win a jury vote at the end, which was very close, but he could still win a jury vote at the end as a villain. And like his gameplay would be respected for it. And I just think like that, look out for a future episode of On the Block where we talk about villains potentially, but like I just think that Greg is like one of the best to play that villain card and still like win on a season where he plays that card.
Yeah,
because that's the only way he plays.
It's a tough role to play, and there's only a few people that do it really well, and those are the people that come in and have done it well. Mitchell's done it well, Greg's done it well, Connor's done it well. Other than that,
who else?
It's hard to be the villain.
It's a tough life out here.
End sentence. There's nothing. It's hard. Like you have to be able to manage the idea that like people don't like you, but then you also have to be able to be willing. Like you have to be very good at convincing people that they need to keep you even though they don't like you. And that was something Greg did really well in season 2 after he won the battle back because they took him out for being a villain. Came back. I thought we could have talked about that as a power flip thing,
sure.
Like that's in true. Season 2, so because he did a great job then too. So I'm looking forward to digging into season 5 at some point whenever I can and trying to learn some more about it. So
absolutely. All right, Mitchell, here's your moment. Let's talk about it.
Well, here's the thing. Y'all want to give me some hell about loving season 6 so much, but we don't have a moment picked yet because I believe the words were from your mouth that said so many choices. So, you can take your pick. Jason said in the comments earlier he thought that I was going to drag him for him and Steven voting me out, which is a topic that we have long discussed, and I don't feel like we need to discuss
Great.
more today. I did maybe have a few too many to drink the other day and texted them and said, hey backstabbers, but you know what? We don't need to get into that. I think the move that we need to talk about from season 6, hold on, let me make the banner.
Oh, I was about to type it as we were talking, but go ahead.
Okay, I'll just do it real quick. I think the movie we need to talk about is the pre-jury power flip.
All right, walk through this.
This is so at the beginning of the game, the initial response was Sarah said Pandora is dead. LMAO. I mean, this was a moment. I don't think it was definitely a flop moment though. We're not gonna talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. No, so a lot of us at the beginning of the game really wanted to get out the returners. So Abby, Quinn, Ryan Marston, and Drew. We just felt like we wanted to, a group of newbies came together. It was myself, Parker, Maddie, Steven, and Jason. And then by proxy, I had Sarah. And so we were really wanting to use our ability, because we were winning all the competitions at the beginning of the game, to get our agenda. A great part about season 6, and especially the pre-jury, is we were trying so hard to get out all of the returners, and they just kept fighting. They kept winning vetoes. They kept getting things to go their way. Quinn got a power, and they were just able to just stave off elimination until it was Abby and Quinn were the last two. They were the last ones that were left from that returners alliance, and Quinn managed to win HOH. And this was the last round, right after the battle, right before the battle back happened. Mm-hmm. He put up myself and Jason on the block and really threw a wrench in our side of the house, because then people were forced to pick, which side they wanted to lie on, and Jason and I were having to campaign for votes. Then he won the veto. He won the veto, or someone won the veto.
Abby wins the veto.
Okay, Abby won the coin stacking veto, which I was disqualified from, and I was going to win.
Yeah.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. And he ends up deciding to make a move, and he backdoors Maddie, who had won 2 HOHs, had won a veto, I think, was married to Parker, so obviously people were concerned about that.
He was on track to be the Janelle or Danny of that game with how many HOHs and vetoes she was winning. It was amazing.
Yeah, she was
She's the most decorated pre-juror in BBH history. She's got to be.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, she won an HOH this last time around too. So
yeah, she and part of the thing that I remember is that I had really drawn Parker and Maddie close to me, and they had also gone out and started talking to Quinn, but they did not do a great job of convincing him that they were with him. And so when he went to make this move, he flips on them. He puts Maddie up. Maddie goes home, I think, almost unanimously against me. I'm shook. Our whole side of the house is what is happening? And it really opened the game up a lot. That next round, Quinn did go out. But after that, it really opened up a lot of cracks in that power structure at the beginning of season 6, and led to some really great moves later on in the game. And so I think that was a really, really fun flip of the house and of the power in that round. It's a great episode of Big Brother Hometowns.
Yeah, 6 is one I want to rewatch soon. I will rewatch soon. And you can watch it now.
If only I wouldn't have left the viewing party on mute, and I'd actually know what happened in these things.
And whose fault is that?
Definitely my own.
Yeah, I think so. If you go back to that episode, I say that's a great move for Quinn.
Yeah.
And I don't remember why I said that. I just remember I said it. But I thought it was because I thought it I don't know. It saved you, Mitchell, and I thought that was going to be a lot for Quinn to like get you on his side, but
he never tried. It was never about me. It was about getting them out, and he never came to me and was like, "Oh, I saved you. You're welcome." You know,
Yeah,
I was pissed.
And instead, Steven wins power next round, wins HOH, and is freaked out by Quinn because Quinn is shown to be a competition beast now, and now has this big strategic move.
Not afraid to make these moves. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was toast.
Yeah.
And his game just continued to go downhill from there.
That's not true. It went uphill for a little bit and then went back downhill.
He like we said last week, or at least someone said last week, like he always has had to fight that perception since his first game.
Yep.
And because he plays hard, and he played hard in that round. He made a huge move. It flipped the house. It didn't benefit Quinn. It benefited Abby and Ryan so heavily though, because it breaks up a lot of what's happening in the power structure of 6 and then allows them to kind of sneak through a few rounds until we start turning.
2 of the
they made it to 2 and 3. Yeah. So like they were dead in the water, and then he did that move. It cracked open some things in the other side, and they were able to just be picked up and used to execute moves along the way. And so
I just remember one thing about that. Or I remember a lot of things about that season, but I want to quickly scan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Abby's on the block 5, maybe technically 6 times that season.
Yeah.
Oh man, she was on the block a lot.
We could never get her out. And then when we had the option to get her out, we decided to save her. Like every time.
A lot of times
amazing.
On the block that many times, it's like they're on the block like that because they're being used as a pawn. But Abby was someone who she was on the block that many times, and then at the end, she had a very legitimate chance to win the whole game. Like she wasn't being used as a pawn; she was being targeted the whole time. And that's what's amazing to me about it is like the number of vetoes she was able to win, or like the number of times that, like the vote went in her favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so 7.
Yes. Josh, help us out.
Yeah, what move did you decide?
We don't have to talk a long time about this. This is Max made the same mistake in 7. He made the exact same mistake, except it didn't involve his brother. He tried to backdoor Shelby. He had a terrible read. He knows this on what was going on the other side of the house, and he failed to backdoor Shelby. And Shelby was technically like in his alliance. Shelby was playing the middle, and he tries to backdoor Shelby, make this big move. And Shelby's main alliance protects her because she's against, I don't even remember. Season's so unmemorable that I don't even remember who's on the block. Let's see. On the block next to, interesting. No, wait. Where is this?
Hold on.
Something. We have some misinformation on here. In our voting chart because, or maybe not. No. Oh, I thought that. No. Sorry. We don't.
She was against Daniel.
Yeah, ultimately against Daniel, which is funny that because Daniel had nobody at all in that season. He did not. He had nothing.
What do you mean he had a 7-person alliance? Oh no, that was 9. Just kidding.
Yeah, that was a 9. Jayla, I agree. It's not even about the read on Shelby. It's not even about the read on Shelby. It's about the read on the other alliance, about Artisha, Jennifer, Sam, Jake, and Shelby being in this big alliance, and Thomas, who was evicted first. He doesn't count. And not realizing that, let's see, it was the initial nominations that were the issue. He put up Jake and Daniel. That's the problem. You put up an absolute pawn of all pawns, Daniel, who has nobodies on neither side, instead of putting up Jake and Sam or Jake and Jennifer, for crying out loud. Really, anybody other than Daniel would have been the right decision there. And then you can backdoor Shelby. You can backdoor the heck out of her, and even if she's not a goner, you can get out whoever. So yeah, this is just a terrible move on Max. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember like with that, there was a lot of distrust in Shelby though, correct? Because didn't she like?
Oh yeah.
Didn't she was playing both sides, and
Yeah.
they started to recognize that she was playing both sides. And so I don't want to like put context to this, like, or rewrite this, but I want to say that like he felt like he could make the move because I feel like people were distrusting of her, and they thought this was the moment to strike, and then her alliance actually saved her. Is what I want to say,
Yeah,
but I don't remember.
I still think that if Max had a better read on the situation, that Daniel would not have gone on the block. I think that people had put Daniel in this like threat category that he didn't deserve to be in. He's coming off an HOH win and an HOH veto week, which he's coming off of. Oh wow, he's coming off of 3 back-to-back wins. He won the before this round. He had won an HOH and 2 vetoes. So that puts that doesn't help Max, because then in your mind, oh, Daniel's won all these things, I could put him on the block. But it's not about competition wins. It's not. It's about allegiances, and it's about connections in that regard. And I think if he had a better read on that situation, if someone had just came to Max and said, hey, these 5 people are in an alliance, like. He doesn't put Daniel up, and I think that changes a lot of that season, because that was so frustrating, because that alliance just had such a stranglehold on the game, and these were opportunities to take them out, and it just never happened. Jayla had an opportunity, and she takes out Chandler, who is not with them. Then Max has his opportunity, takes out Daniel, who's not with them. These are 2 opportunities to knock some of these guys out. And all of a sudden, season 7 goes from one of our least favorite seasons to one of our most favorite seasons, because you have Lauren, Jayla, Sam, Jake, these like big people like fighting it out, instead of Sam and Jake just holding on to one side.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, season 8.
Season 8.
Let's move on.
All right.
Oh my gosh, Connor, you idiot.
Another move involving Connor. Another move involving Gray convincing Connor to do something that's not good for his game.
Oh, that's true.
Anytime you put me and Connor in the house together, like something crazy is going to happen.
One of you wins. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Connor played once. I guess, anyway, go ahead.
So, in this move, this HOH was an iconic moment in the house, because Alex should have won this HOH. Alex could have won this HOH.
Oh, right.
But I don't think Alex wanted to win this HOH.
Yeah, he wanted Thomas to win it.
He wanted Thomas to win it because Thomas is part of our alliance. But what Alex didn't know was that Tom, and I didn't know this either, but that Thomas was starting to pick up on Alex's like power. And so in the back of Thomas's mind, he's thinking, oh, this might be a good time to take Alex out. And so Thomas, we're playing C4. While we're playing C4, it looks like Nathan is going to win. So I message Nathan, and this is crucial information that will come back to be important in a second. I message Nathan, and I'm like, hey, I want to throw this comp to you and make you HOH. I'm going to convince people to do that. If we do that, can you keep me safe?
This is Alex.
Yeah. Obviously, Alex threw it, judging by the way he played C4 in season 10.
Yeah. So Nathan tells me, he's like, yes, if I win HOH, I'm going to target Connor and Kaylee. Okay, so that's important because that'll come back. Then Thomas wins. It goes into overtime. Me and Alex are like on the phone with each other, like screaming. This was like one of my favorite moments of like 2020. Like me and Alex are just like texting back and forth, freaking out because we want Thomas to win. And Thomas like is just, we're just like getting so frustrated. So Thomas finally ends up winning. He puts up Nathan and Shane.
I'll look. Thomas puts up Nathan and Shane. Nailed it.
All right. So, yeah, let's play that Jeopardy game again. Then Shane wins veto and takes himself off.
Robbie wins the veto.
Robbie wins veto and takes Shane off. And Robbie and Thomas have decided that they are going to pull Shane off to put Alex up.
Well, and let's not rewrite history here either. Connor was very much in on this plan. He was writing this story to take Alex out. He was in Nathan's or Robbie's ear. He's in Thomas's ear, and they're like, "We are taking Alex out. This is the time." Okay, continue.
And ideally, and realistically, to be completely honest, the numbers in the house at this moment, when they decide to take Alex out, are 6 on one side and 2 on the other, with the only 2 being me and Alex. And so, because I was like ready for me and Alex to go to the end at this point. And I think this was the moment where Alex realized like how committed I was to this like 2 that we had. So Alex gets put up on the block. Robbie calls me and is like talking to me on the phone, and he's like, "Hey man, like we couldn't tell you because we felt like you would tell Alex because y'all are close, but I just want to let you know like this is about to happen. So just be ready for it." And I was like kind of pissed off because the way he was talking to me was just very like, "Hey, like you have to be okay with this." But he was in power, so I guess he could do that, right? And so at the same time, I was like, "Well, Robbie, like at this point, like I just like there's nothing I can do. Like you're going to get out Alex now, then you're going to take me out next." And he was like, "No, I'm not going to take you out next, but I am going to try to win the next HOH." And I was like, "Okay, well then who do you take out next?" He's like, "Well, we're trying to break up duos. So right now I want to take out Alex to split you 2 up. But next I want to take out another duo." And I just keep feeding it back. And I'm like, "Okay, what duo do you want to target?" And he's like, "I want to target Connor and Kaylee." And I was like, "Perfect. Thank you for saying that." Nice caller. So Alex gets put up, and I'm like, "Alex, I got you." Because I had this information from Nathan and Robbie about both of them wanting to put up Connor and Kaylee. And Nathan and Robbie said that they weren't a duo, but they both had the same plan. So I called Connor, and we were on the phone at like midnight talking through this. And I'm like, "Connor, like you have to vote Nathan out of this game. Like you're the swing vote, because me and Kaylee, I talked to Kaylee already. We want to save Alex. And the other 2 want to vote Alex out. And so you're the swing vote. And Kaylee is already wanting to do this. And if you vote with us, then me, you, Kaylee, and Alex have an alliance of 4 moving forward. And Alex is like the biggest threat because he's still going to be there protecting us." So I was like, "Connor, this is how you make it to the end of this game." And realistically, I do think that this could have been in his best interest. I don't really know, but so we talk about it, and like Connor's like saying he's going to do it, and then he's going back to Robbie and Shane and saying that he's not going to do it, and all this stuff. And basically, like there was a vote steal out there that Connor had. Like he could have like stolen Kaylee's vote and just like guaranteed that the vote went the way he wanted to, but none of that happened. And I mean, I was in his ear all day long. And I remember when the vote time came up, right after votes were submitted, Josh called me and was like, "Hey, before I announce this, I just need to tell you it happened." And I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "The vote flipped, like Connor voted out Nathan." And I immediately just like dropped my phone and was like, there is no way that happened, but it did. Like he voted, and it created an alliance of 4 moving forward. So yeah, let's post this up. I think this is Alex. I don't think this is a flop on Connor. I think this was a flop on Robbie. Robbie was set up if he didn't do this. And that is very, very true, because Robbie and Shane, this is a flop on Robbie and Shane both, I think, because they became the next 2 targets. So this could have easily been a flop on Thomas because he was the HOH at the time. But it wasn't a flop on Thomas. This was a flop on Robbie and Shane because they immediately targeted Connor next. And they were like, it broke up the relationship that they had with Connor. And so it was definitely like a flip for me and Alex. I don't know.
So was Connor the next to go after this?
No, Connor ended up making it into the, like, with the new alliance of 4 we made, it ended up being like Connor getting out at 5th, Kaylee getting out at 3rd, Alex being 2nd, me being 1st.
So here's the only reason I think this is a flop for Connor, and there's a big reason, is I think that this, if Connor had a runway to the victory, to winning this game for a second time, he chopped off half of that runway and put up a brick wall halfway through by making this move. Because I think that if he takes out Alex, there's still a very strong path to get him to the end, because you then need him. Robbie and Nathan and Shane are trusting Connor still, because they all just made this move together, and Kaylee's still trusting Connor because Connor could probably pick up the pieces of Kaylee, who was not like someone that was like, I am gonna cut ties with people. She was not like that, was not like her game. I just think that yes, this was not great for Robbie, but Robbie got screwed by Connor, and that's I think the real reality of it. And Connor screwed himself in the process. I think that Connor could have won that game.
I also think that, well, one, Alex wouldn't have been in the final two if this hadn't happened, like, because Alex would have been voted out here. But two, like, I don't think that I could have won the game if this hadn't happened.
Oh, I don't think so either.
I wouldn't have been in a new majority that we made, and also I wouldn't have a big move on my resume, because like this was something that ended up helping me at the end. And so like I wouldn't have had either of those things. And so like this move is ultimately what gets me and Alex to the final two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And Alex is talking about how the next round was a double and Shane and Robbie go home together. Well, first of all, if Alex is not there, one. And then the HOH was blackjack, so it was kind of a crapshoot.
Kaylee won it. She probably still won it.
She might have still won it, but you never know what happens if you insert Connor in that. So there's a lot of things it's hard to tell. But I really think that Connor really cut his runway short by taking Nathan out.
And the thing I remember about this, they had no business in voting out Nathan.
None.
Nathan was never going to win the game. He was like, literally every confessional, well, hey guys, can't believe I'm still in this game. He literally like, he knew he was drawing dead at every like social relationship and every comp, every like no alliances, like, and then they just like let him they just like took him out for no reason. Like when he
Connor just swears that he did it to keep his relationship with Kaylee alive, which is valid. That's a reason. Just don't think it was enough.
And like I was able to leverage a relationship with Kaylee because I used her as a pawn earlier, and like was like, hey, I'm gonna like make sure you don't go home. But also I think one of the reasons that Nathan looked like a bigger target here was because Nathan and Robbie both told me who their next targets were, and they were both the same people. And so I think Connor looked at this and was like, okay, if they're both targeting me and Kaylee, then like there has to be something going on there. So why not weaken Robbie with this? Because Robbie was making a case.
Alex wants Jenny to pronounce this alliance name.
Follow me.
Come on, at least try.
That was rude because I kind of did try. I don't know.
Gray, what's the proper pronunciation?
I think it was Mafalme.
Yeah, it's Mafalme.
One of the greatest alliances ever until Robbie.
It's a great alliance name.
Yeah,
Is it?
It means kings and or king in Swahili.
Does it though? Because if I know anything about these shows, they never.
I mean, I think we did our research.
Well, this is the classic case of a tattoo that has the wrong word written. It's like the wrong word written instead of.
Yes, this is true. I think Alex said this. I pushed all game how close Robbie and Nathan were. Connor and I had chats through the game specifically about Nathan and Robbie, and I think that was at play too. Absolutely. I mean, like, I think when Connor hears it from Alex the whole game and then turns around and in the moment hears it from me too, that they're both targeting him and Kaylee, like, he has to consider that,
100%.
Iconic move. All right. How about 9?
Season 9.
I remember what it is.
Yeah, I remember what it is. I'm just trying to remember the full context of it. I mean, I definitely remember what it is. I'm trying to get us there.
What was that iconic quote? Oh, I got you. I think this is what he said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not right. It's you treat me like a dog, or like a dog. Yeah, this was like the first
Who
round
said
of the
that?
jury, right?
Oh.
I believe yes, because Dina goes home here, and she was the first
Yeah.
juror.
Yeah. So after the entire pre-jury of being used as a pawn and put on the block several times and not being informed about anything, Pietro wins the HOH competition and says, "No, you're not gonna get in my ear. You're not gonna tell me what's best for my game. Screw all of you guys." Like basically,
We love Pietro.
yeah, we do.
This season, Pietro is one of my favorite. There's a reason Pietro wins fan favorite this season.
And this was the turning point of that.
Yeah, he is the most entertaining person to play in this season because of how he responded to every single person wanting this to happen.
Yeah, like he had the sequester crew like in his ear saying like, do this, do X, Y, and Z, you know, and then he had like other people in his ear. He had probably like Kieran and Mitchell in his ear being like, hey, you should Google it. And he said, no, y'all did not like take me seriously at all the entire half of this game. This is my chance to do the move that is best for me, and y'all can all eat it. And
So what did he do?
So he ends up putting up like Dina and
Daniel Kennedy.
Daniel Kennedy. Yeah, I can't speak. Daniel Kennedy. Yeah. He puts up two of the power players from the pre-merge. Dina, who was subtly behind the scenes working like literally socially every relationship, and Daniel, who was kind of like the muscle of that group, like making some things happen. I think he had won a comp or two before then. And he really read that situation well, that those were two of the people that were holding a lot of that together.
Dina was killing this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in a great spot.
Playing like the best like pre-jury of like if we ranked pre-jury players, like she was playing one of the best pre-juries ever.
And he was able to suss that out. He was able to figure that out, and he put the target on her and said, you're not fooling me, essentially. And that opened that game up so much, even though every freaking vote was a unanimous vote, like, which was so annoying, but like it opened up the game for other players like Slade and like Shane and Kaylee. It opened the game up for those players to do other things. And it was a great move.
He's the one that like took a hacksaw and split the house in half.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we had unanimous votes in a lot of ways, because each side was like, all right, we know what the other side wants to or is going to do. And there was never a spot where the side that was not in power had enough numbers to influence the vote.
Anything. Yeah.
So they would instead vote with the other side because they pretty much had no choice. You know, you look at just a bunch of unanimous votes and you say that this can't be good for everyone because only one person wins. And that's true. But there was not a lot of work done to flip votes because Pietro had just took a hacksaw to the whole house and said, you're on this side, you're on this side.
And either of those people going home was a big loss for the other side, for that side. So they didn't really want to splinter any further, you know. So, yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah. And interesting to see where we eventually rank BBH 9 in the mix. It's kind of a weird season in some ways, I feel like. But there's probably some good stuff to talk about. I'm excited to, you know, kind of maybe we should need to do the evolution of strategy of Big Brother hometowns.
Well, I mean, here, spoiler alert, in season 7, when you start casting org people, it changes a lot.
That's true. And I think so 7, but season 8 was a good mix. Season 9 was very org heavy, but like you look at it,
and Kieran won.
Yeah, who wins it? Kieran, who's just like, you know, lives up the road from us and is our friend. Like she dominates. Like, so org people become more normal. That's
yeah, 7,
oh Jesus Christ.
But
why?
But yeah, so let's move on to season 10, and we're gonna bring in a second person that was in that season. You're a friend of
You
mine.
mean a third person? Thank you very much. I was on that season.
Sorry.
Wait, Mitchell, you were? I am so quick.
You were?
Hello. Josh sent me the link, so I figured I'd come say hello.
What's that? Oh, yes. Oh, we're getting the Alex Day scrolling banner.
Wow.
This is some treatment here. Thank you very much.
Average at the average number 2 player to never win. Big Brother Hometowns. Alex Day.
Why you gotta do that?
I'm over it. Okay.
All right, let's talk about season 10.
Here's
and
the
then-
question of season 10.
Rachel? Jenny, you tell us the story of your day. It was a Wednesday.
Oh my God, how do you remember that?
because we were setting up slip and slide kickball for the youth that night.
Right.
So you wake up that morning.
I don't even remember exactly how the conversation got started, but so throughout the entire season, I tried so hard to maintain a good conversation with Rachel, and we would always exchange just a few messages here or there. And I always told Josh, I was like, she doesn't trust me. She's never gotten over it. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, rip.
Is that me or is that them?
No, that's them.
That's them.
Okay, good. Oh, that sucks.
Let's talk about them while they hear it.
Yeah.
Hate those guys.
Drag, man.
Well, we can talk about what Jenny's talking about here in terms of like why Rachel doesn't trust her is because of the vote flip to save Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then the secondary flip, which was Ryan, which then everyone was like,
they pinned that on her.
Jenny. And I was like, yo, it's not Jenny. It's so obvious it's Ryan. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
like Rachel has a reason here why she does not trust Jenny. And I see like Josh's argument and probably Jenny's too, is that Rachel should see the moves that Jenny makes afterwards to prove herself to their side and trust her, which I see that. But also in a game like this, it's hard to forgive somebody whenever they wronged you before.
And there's not as much space. It's not like Big Brother where there's weeks for that like burn to go away, right? This happened potentially like a week after.
Like
at the same time.
So after Thomas puts you up in 8, like after Thomas tries to backdoor you in 8, like I guess this would just be an example of like, do you trust Thomas again? Or is that trust, it can never be what it was?
I did because I never really saw that as Thomas's move anyway. Like it was clear that it was Robbie who was betraying me from me because Robbie used the veto.
That's
right?
true.
And so it was Robbie betraying me, not Thomas. And Thomas and I were like already sort of iffy. Yeah. And I know that I had proactively shown him trust. So to me, it was like, okay, well, this is sort of Thomas's fault, but like, I'm not salty at Thomas. It's Robbie because Robbie's the one who made this happen.
Yeah.
Thomas
so you
just
can't
sort of went along.
You can't trust either of them again.
No, I mean, Robbie immediately, I was just like, you're dead to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they really struggled getting Jenny really struggled getting Rachel trust again. Obviously, that's why. And I don't think it helped that there were like other factors. Like she had Jake and Pietro.
Other factors.
Also, like,
yeah.
Yeah, but people though that were like, no, she has, that were like, no, giving her that space to figure that out for herself. And I think in 10, Rachel suffered from not making moves that were beneficial for her game, but beneficial for other people's game.
I agree. She was thinking of the alliance, not herself, but the alliance was thinking of themselves before the alliance.
Yeah.
Wait, who?
So Rachel was thinking of like a move that would benefit her alliance. Like she was playing for the alliance of her, Jake, and Pietro rather than playing for herself. But Jake and Pietro were playing.
They were playing for them.
They were playing for the two of them. So they were like willing to let Rachel make a move that would benefit the alliance, but that also would hurt her more than it hurt them.
Yes, but I also want to say that like when you said that, okay, Rachel did have reason not to trust Jenny. I don't even think that that's fair because, like, yes, Jenny did what she did, but she was still in the alliance, right? And then there was all these other people that, let's say you don't trust Jenny. Jenny's bottom of the group of 8 or 9, whatever it was. There's still like 5 people below her, and it's like go for them and like.
Yeah, but then so then let's talk about it. She decides to backdoor her when there are still Jason and Shelby and Emma and you, who she didn't trust. You know, there's people
like
in the
her and Pietro had been talking about getting Alex out for rounds and rounds.
They had talked to me about backdooring you instead of backdooring me. Like it was like there was like it had been forever that they had been thinking about it. So then she decides to backdoor Jenny, which was like a weird like, we didn't, which is like, oh, okay.
I think Gray, you were on the call. Mitchell, you obviously weren't. So
no,
we had our group chat with me, Jake, Pietro, and Rachel, and that right before she ended up doing the veto and using it to take who'd she take down? Jason, and put up Jenny. Yeah. She called. And I was like already messaging Jake, and I was like, something does not feel right here. And she calls and she's like, okay, Alex, God, what did she say to me? She said something along the lines of like, oh, are you with the group, or like, what are you doing? And I knew that she was like on the verge. If I said the wrong thing, she was gonna say, Alex, you're going up. Like it was like on the tip of her tongue that she wanted to say it so badly. And I was walking around in my bathroom, like pacing, just like, oh, please do not put me up. Do not put me up. And like begging Rachel and like pleading my loyalty to her. And then 2 seconds later, she was like, okay, I'm putting up Jenny then. I was like, what? Yeah. Shook.
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, it ultimately boils down to like, I think Rachel, like when she gets that HOH, like Rachel isn't afraid to make a big move, but it's not, I think like her power in that, like, it's not necessarily always the best move for her. And it was just so entertaining to watch this because she was drunk on the beach making this move.
We're back.
Hello.
We were listening for the most part, but fill us in where you are.
We're saying that Rachel was having some drinks on the beach as she made this decision.
And we talked a little bit about like Rachel like mistrusting Jenny, why she mistrusted Jenny, if it was okay for her to mistrust Jenny, and like Rachel playing like for basically like one of the things we said was that Rachel kind of like made a move that would benefit her alliance, but it didn't necessarily benefit her game.
Or just like specific people in the alliance, the ones that were telling her to do those moves. I mean, it happened when Mitchell went home, and that benefited some people in the alliance too.
But like Mitchell wasn't in the alliance, right? So
right.
Wait, Mitchell went home on Rachel's HOH, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but Mitchell went home at the hands of me and really Alex, but me pushing for Bradley to stay and having to sacrifice Mitchell to get Bradley to stay. And so even though, because I told Josh over and over, if Rachel makes it to the end, in the day that she had in the game before she got voted out, I was going to ask her what moves did she make that she actually made, or which ones did she make because other people convinced her to do something otherwise, which is to me what Rachel's game was. Because both of her HOHs ended up being things that other people influenced her to do.
So Rachel didn't trust Jenny because Jenny's vote flip saved Mitchell. But then after Jenny is part of a move that gets Mitchell out, you would think that after that, Jenny has proven.
And I was HOH the round before that and didn't put Rachel up on the block, even though everything in me wanted to, because Jeff had come to me like the day before and was like, me, you, Alex, Rachel, final four. And I was like, how about me, you, Alex, and like Pietro, because I don't actually trust Rachel. And I said, she's going to be the person who flips on me. I didn't realize it was going to happen that quickly. And even when her and I were talking, and she like, her and I finally had like a real conversation about the game, about our worries of when the 7 was going to fall apart and who was going to make the move first and all this. And she had kind of decided. And so finally I just baited her and I was like, do you want to make the move now? And she was like, maybe. And so I was like, well, who are you thinking? And that's when she was like, I think she told me she was at that point was close to Jake and Pietro. And I was like, duh, we know this. And so she was thinking Alex, and I was like, okay, like this could be fine, but I obviously am not going to push too hard because I don't want her to put me up in Alex's place if that's going to be the case. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, see what happens. And then when she ghosted all of us,
or you,
or me, ghosted me, and that's the thing that I don't. Part of me was like, man, did I underestimate the connection between Jake, Pietro, Rachel, and Alex? And I don't necessarily think that's true because going into it, Alex brought in Jake, Pietro, and Rachel to our little alliance. And I was like, hey, I'm close to Jeff, Matt, and Daniel. And the 8 of us came in together. And so I think in the back of my mind, I always knew that they probably were talking. But I think the relationship that I underestimated was how loyal Jake was going to be to Rachel, because I always thought that Jake would end up being more loyal to Alex. And so in that situation, I was hoping that there would have been more of a chance of being able to stay, because I was hoping that Jake would want to do what Alex would want to do and not Rachel. But all that to say, I was so happy when she went home the next round.
And I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. That's the risk you take when you make a huge move like that, is that there's someone left burnt. And that person, especially in this is Big Brother, as opposed to Survivor, where you can maybe rally some votes. You know, this is not that. Jeff got power and was able, and there was times where he almost messed that up. And Alex was kind of working to try and keep Rachel in the game because that would have been beneficial to him. But you know, ultimately, I want to know the truth about this, Alex. I don't think I ever found out. Whose idea was the halting hex thing?
The halting hex was Pietro.
Okay.
We were on a call and we were discussing various things, and I kept throwing out ideas like, okay, well, what if we just say it's this, or like, could we do this? And then Pietro was like, let's do the halting hex, blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't really know what this is. Please tell me more. And then it went from there.
Right, because I think Pietro eventually told Jeff that it was your idea. Which
no,
Pietro also told Jeff that Alex was the one who masterminded my eviction.
Right, that's why I was so confused.
I mean, Pietro fed wrong information to people, but in a way that, like,
at the right time. Oh yeah, he was lying. He was lying.
Like, and it worked for him. It's called lying. Call a duck a duck. Like, I've never been someone in games like this who can do that with wrong information. Like, it's hard. That, like, with Connor in season 8, I fed him information that I had been told. I may have twisted it a little bit to fit for me, but the information was true. I've never been someone who can feed wrong information in a way that, like, it's hard. It's hard to lie, because I think as humans, like, lying isn't something that's, like, super natural to us. And so that's why whenever you see people who win these games by lying, like, there's this conversation about, like, the impact that a game like this can have on you, like, your mental health, right? Like, it's hard to trust people in real life after you've seen the way that people play to, like, win a game. It's tough, but
it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust people that you played the game with in real life afterwards.
And I actually don't think I'm there. I think in my head, because maybe that's because I'm like, hey, I'll tell you what you need to say and chop your head off the next round if that's what we need to do. So I'm like, if you lied to me, that's fine. We can still be cool after this. I have no issues with it.
Oh yeah. That doesn't bother me either. And, like, I don't know. This might sound ridiculous. Like, I really don't feel like I'd lie that much in these games. Like,
I don't
really,
either, but I
don't
think
I
every
do.
time I've
It
played,
just
I've gotten
seems like I
pegged as
do.
a liar, and I
Yes.
don't understand why that it happened this game. It happened the
Well,
first time
you
I
did lie
played.
in this game.
Okay, but in each instance,
45
there was like
For
a
total
lie
of 40,
being
yeah,
told,
40
and then all of a
That
sudden,
45
it's
minutes is gonna haunt you.
Well, Alex, I wouldn't say that you are a liar when you play, but you are a manipulator.
Yes, I personally believe like nothing is more powerful than the truth, and like dropping the truth at the right time is my preference.
Right, and I think that's smart because ultimately, the truth.
The truth shall set you free, and like it will come out. Like it is true.
But what I mean is that the truth can't come back to bite you if you're using truth against other people. Lies can come back to bite you. Pietro, hats off to him for lying. I guess he picked the right information that just sounded true enough that it connected dots for Jeff that pinned a lot of evil on Alex. Now, granted, Alex, you weren't innocent and everything, but like you certainly
no.
But you certainly weren't.
Pietro was really good at how was I going to phrase this? Like people wanted a reason to come after me more so than they already did. So, and he could not even lie to them, and they would have bitten it and like jumped all over it, right? So these crazy lies were just like, oh my god, this is happening. Like this sounds so true. Like Jeff just believed everything when I would say probably nothing Pietro told him was true.
Out of curiosity, I think I've asked you this, but what led to you voting for Jake? If you, I guess you don't have to tell us, but
The same reason he took Gray to the end. He's a loyal asshole.
Yeah, I would say it was like 50-50. Like when I started the game, if it wasn't me winning, I wanted Jake to win, and I didn't mind if I lost again, doing the same thing to Jake. I didn't think I would lose to Jake. That's why I was totally okay with it. So I was like, okay, well then I need to hold up that end of the bargain, and then as well, I asked Pietro a question, and he did not do what I said. Like
he answered it. You
no,
stupid.
I said yes or no, and he was like, absolutely.
That's not what I asked.
Yes, that is not what I
asked. Yeah, I read that as a friendship vote, and you knew Pietro was going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the jury room beforehand, and I was like, guys, I'm going to go in there and be so petty and just like scare them to hell. And that's kind of what I did. So
I love to be petty.
We stand.
All right, guys.
But sorry, one last thing. I was frustrated at Rachel voting me out because I felt like that was going to be the turning point in mine and Rachel's game together to where we potentially would go the long haul with each other. Because I thought that was going to be like this moment of trust between us. And like we finally got our girl gang together after like being with all these people. And so I remember like feeling pretty good that day. And it was a terrible day of work anyway, only for it to be crushed. So sorry.
It should have been in a lot of ways if Rachel had played for herself. If she wanted to make that move, I guess she could have like really latched onto you and brought you in with. You could have slid into Alex's place with Pietro, who wanted to work with you, and Jake, who was like, I know I gave them a hard time.
I think it's funny that Jake didn't trust me because I like had probably what I thought was the most genuine conversations with Jake out of anybody because we didn't necessarily talk a whole lot of games. So I was always like having the greatest time when we talked, and then to know that he was distrustful of it the whole time, I was like, well, what can you do?
What can you do?
Yeah.
Alrighty, gang. That is going to conclude our time together. I'll quickly recap the announcements from the beginning. If you want a Big Brother Hometowns t-shirt, Alex, why haven't you bought one yet?
I have not been asked to buy one, so
you literally have.
That's a lie.
We asked everybody.
Josh, you're lying. Okay.
Alex, would you like to buy a Big Brother Hometowns t-shirt?
Yes, I would.
Okay, great. You can reach out to me or Jeff Delaney, Big Brother Hometowns 10 All-Star Jeff, Jeff with the nice camera. You know him. That Jeff. Yeah, that Jeff. and you can reach out to him for the thing. BBH 11 application deadline is tomorrow at, let's say, 8:00 p.m. tomorrow night. That's it. You got to 8:00 tomorrow p.m. Eastern time to apply for BBH 11. We'll get your interview in before the end of the week, and then we're going to be making casting decisions really by the end of the week, more than likely, or at least really get the ball rolling on that. Next on the Off the Block episode, which I don't know when exactly is going to be, big announcement being dropped. Lots of really fun things that I'm so pumped. I cannot wait to share it with the world. It has been in the works for months, and it is ready to be here. So that's that. For Gray Price, Mitchell Stokes, Alex Day, Jenny Consalvo, I'm Josh Consalvo. This has been Off the Block, and we will see you next time.